Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. I think that this is going to be a fun conversation because it has to do with three of our amazing instructors who work a lot over at the Visual Arts Center. Sometimes you guys are here at the Visual Arts Center, at the Performing Arts Center, but a lot of times, a lot of the stuff is happening over there at the other center. But I have with me right here, I have Tammy DeCaro, I have Maggie Henry, and I have Shirley Blake. And what I would love for each of you to do as we get started is just tell our audience a little bit about what type of art it is that you do, and also let them know the types of classes that you teach for Arts Bonita. We'll start with you, Tammy.
Okay. Thank you, Jon. I'm Tammy DeCaro. I teach a variety of classes, which all reflect the type of art that I like to make. Fluid art, resin art, fused glass pendants. If I can think of it, I'll figure out how to master it and then teach it. Really excited about the upcoming season because we'll be adding some more interesting things to the jewelry side of fused glass. And also excited today to be here with Maggie and Shirley because they bring such a great different type of approach to some of those same acrylic and mediums that I use, and I want to take their classes. So let's hear from Maggie.
Yes, quick follow-up real quick for you. Can you tell our audience what fluid art is?
Sure. So fluid art is the process of taking acrylic tube paint and adding a pouring medium to make it very liquid and applying that to a canvas in a variety of ways. I teach 20 different fluid art techniques, and that's maybe half of the ones that are common.
Yeah, I was going to say only 20?
Only 20.
That's it?
Yeah.
If we could just get to 21. One day we'll get there. Okay.
We'll get there.
Maggie.
Hi, thank you, Jon, for having me today. My name is Maggie Henry. I've been teaching at the Center for the Arts for the last 5 years. I teach a mixed media collage class. I teach a one-night events. I teach one-day workshops, and my forte would be in art would be mixed media collage and watercolor. I am a watercolor artist also. I have taught classes anywhere from Calder mobile making classes to paper banner classes to anything that has to do with art, I can teach. And I love art. Art is my life. I have to be creative every day or I get crabby. So I'm happy to be a part of Arts Bonita, and thank you for having me here today, Jon. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's always amazing to hear about the different things that you all do because you guys do so many different things. You know, you always think of artists as being like, this is my one area that I specialize in. But it's like when I talk to you guys about all the different things that you do, it's like you're so amazing. You guys are like multi-talented. And everybody's like super lucky to be taking classes with you guys. So just, go to artsbonita.org, look up the classes that we have going on. We have them for adults, we have them for kids, we have them at night, weekends, during the day, like all over the place. But this is just an example of some of the wonderful instructors that you could work with if you come and take classes here at Arts Bonita. Speaking of a wonderful instructor, I'd like to throw it to Shirley Blake to say hello and tell us a little bit about the art that you like to do and the types of classes that you teach here at Arts Bonita.
Well, as an introduction, I was actually teaching here before there was a building, which takes me back 20-some years. And my first classes that I worked with were watercolor for quite some time. Then I got a little more interested in acrylic and have done a number of those classes. I've taught collage classes. I've had 2- and 3-day workshops, just the whole kind of gamut, and I enjoy it all. And I find that many of the people that come are just really kind of intrigued by art. They don't know much about it, but once they've had a lesson or two or a series of lessons, they just really seem to catch on and think it's really fun.
Shirley, I think your voice is the most calming, voice and wise voice. I'm just telling you, it just sounds like you have a great I can just imagine if I was taking one of your classes, I would just be like, oh my God, like everything she's saying, like it's just, I want to like soak it up and just take it in.
I
You
love
just
it.
very, very calming and wise voice. That's just what you have. So, you know.
Well, that's very
Good job.
nice of you to say. I'm not sure it's always calm in class, but anyway.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. Okay, well, let me, we'll start this way and come back around here. I'm just curious, like, you can say no or you can say yeah. Is anybody here a sports fan of any kind? Are there any sports that you watch or at any time that you've paid attention to?
Well, I personally like to watch anything that is women's basketball,
Okay.
only because I went to the University of Iowa.
Nice.
And Caitlin Clark is a big deal there right now. And I just, I think it's wonderful that women are being more recognized in sports
Yes.
and able to end up with a real career out of it instead of just being, the small person on the team, kind of.
Yeah.
So I like that. I do play golf, not very well, but I'm out there sometimes, struggling like everybody else. So
Okay.
I guess I'd say that's my interest otherwise.
Well, it's funny you talk about Caitlin Clark. My wife last year was like, "Why are you watching the WNBA?" But I totally was. I was always watching to see what Caitlin Clark was doing and how she was progressing and what it was doing and meaning for the sport, and that more attention was being brought to all these wonderful women that are playing professional basketball. It's been fun to watch. So I love that you brought her up because for some reason I got clued in probably through watching ESPN to Caitlin Clark, and now like I've been, following her in pain. Not following her like in a weird way, like just following her career. Okay,
Right,
obviously
right,
is what
right.
I'm saying. What about for you? Any sport or anything like that you have paid attention to at any time in your life?
I love golf.
Okay.
I try to play golf at least 2 times a week if I can. I'm on the women's league through the community that I live in. And I love, my husband's not a big sports fan, but I do like to watch football. I like to watch basketball.
Okay.
Golf is on at our home a lot, especially women's golf. The way those ladies move their bodies and can hit that ball way out.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal. So
Cool.
I would have to say that, golf.
What sport, like when you watch football, do you have a team that's from like a hometown that you?
Well, I'm originally from Southern Illinois, so I would say the Rams, which are, not in St. Louis anymore, and the Cardinals. So those are my 2 teams. Baseball, I would say San Francisco Giants.
Oh
'cause
my God, did you just say that?
I love San Francisco
Oh my
Giants.
God, that is my team. Okay, we're going to go out and just talk about the Giants for hours. Okay.
When I was born and raised in Southern Illinois, and when I was 22, I moved to California. My sister lived out there, and I never looked back.
Wow.
So I love the Giants. The A's, Oakland A's, not so much, but, the Giants. Yeah.
Oakland A's, not at all. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm when it comes to my sports teams, I'm like, this is what I like, and I don't like anything else.
I do like watching baseball, too.
Cool. Tammy?
So I'm from the Midwest as well. Maggie and I, and actually Shirley too. We're all Midwesterners. Indianapolis, and we don't have a professional baseball team. So in my house, we are Yankees fans.
Ooh.
I realize I probably just got kicked off the podcast, but
No.
we are Yankees fans, and mainly because my New Yorker husband, obviously, but right now it's baseball all the time. And the other day we even, I talked to him, I said, okay, wait a minute. Why does this sport have so many more games than every other sport? And we got in this whole discussion about that. And I was telling my daughter, I'm like, of course, he would have to pick the one sport that plays 3 times as many games a year as everybody else does. Which, when the first game started, he was like, oh, it's baseball. I'm like, already? But now we're into it. Especially those first couple games this year were just awesome. All of us were around the TV. So we're all about the Yankees right now.
Okay, good to know. If you said you were a Dodger fan, then I might kick you off.
Well,
the
of
podcast,
course,
but-
exactly. But I grew up with racing, as the sport in our
Oh.
house. Of course, being in Indianapolis, Indy 500,
Oh.
Brickyard, NASCAR.
I imagined you on like a little radio flyer, like racing down the street against the neighborhood kids.
I absolutely, my father would have watched anything. Two Turtles racing would have been sport in our house. And so I grew up with brothers who did motorcycle racing and go-karts, and
Cool.
that's always interesting to me. I like to watch those when they come around, those races. But
Well, you're supposed
I
to
don't
watch
follow
cars when they come around so you don't get hit by one. That's the general.
true,
Yeah.
true,
yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask you this question: what was your first thing? And I'm going to ask all of you this: what was the first thing in your life that got you on the art train? Was there a moment? Was it gradual over time? Like, what do you think it was?
So I always was artistic as a child, teen, young adult. And then, life, career, everything else got in the way. Had kids, I got married first and then had kids. And throughout all of that, I would find that during periods of my life that were stressful, I would seek out learning a new art medium. So I did clay for many years, wheel throwing and hand building at Heron School of Art in Indianapolis and in Florida Atlantic University on the east coast of Florida, and then switched pretty quickly to business, realizing or thinking, I guess, that there was no career there for art. And so I was a hobby artist for a long time. And then the COVID pandemic hit, and I was managing an assisted living facility of about 110 residents during the COVID pandemic. We had no ability to bring in outside entertainment, no ability to really do a lot of the traditional art-related projects we did with our residents. So suddenly I was going room to room, leaving art supplies with residents and giving little mini lessons and really discovering that I still loved it and wanted to do that more. I had been painting at home for quite a while, but bringing that into the building and working with those residents, especially with dementia. What you don't realize is that many people are left-brained, and particularly in a business or a setting like that, you have analytical left brain thinking and you have creative right brain thinking. With dementia, you don't lose the right brain aspect of your capability. So if you have someone who suddenly, I realize this is totally out the topic, but it's actually really interesting when it comes to art and the way it impacts your brain. You can have someone in very advanced dementia stages, not talking, not walking, not doing anything, and start singing, and they'll sing with you. Give them a pen and help them start to draw something, and you will see them wake up.
Interesting.
So when you see that and, think about those COVID times and how difficult it was for all of us working, living, and now imagine that with dementia, being in your room by yourself. It was such an isolating time, and seeing the beauty of being able to bring that art experience to those residents of mine was, it was career changing for me. And I suddenly discovered, listen, this is what I've always loved to do. Why am I not doing this all the time? So after COVID was managed, everything was good, everything was back on a normal keel. My husband and I had a long conversation, and he said, let's give it a try. And so now I'm full-time selling art festivals, teaching 60 classes a year and living my best life finally at 53.
That's so wonderful.
So, and exercising the right side of my brain, because I think we're all worried about having dementia. So be artistic, because it does help reduce your risk of dementia.
I'm so confused because, Tammy, you're so good at what you do that I'm like, I figured got artistic when you were 10 and you started teaching classes professionally when you were Doogie Howser's age, 14, 15. And I'm like, that to me is it seems like you've been doing this for a long time because you're so natural at it. The way that you explain things to people and get them engaged and whatnot, you're you're just so good with that, and it's fun to see how much fun people have, in your classes, when I've walked in and seen it happening.
We do have a great time, and I think a lot of that is from being a healthcare educator for so many years. And obviously, when you look at it from an education perspective, learning how to break down a task to the point that someone with cognitive impairment can follow your instructions
Right.
is a real challenge. And I mean, it literally was baptism by fire, learning how to do that. So then I decided, this is really what I love to do. Not that I don't enjoy selling the art. I love the art shows and selling art and seeing my art in someone's home. But at the end of the day, the days that are my best days are the days I have classes.
How wonderful. What a great story.
How many people do we know never find their true?
I know.
I mean, they might enjoy their career or their success in their career, but do they really, truly love it? And I'm fortunate that I had 2 careers I loved. Yeah. And this one is my now career and 100% the best one so far.
How wonderful. What a great story.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say 2 things. One is don't forget to go to artsbonita.org so you can see what classes are happening. Also, don't forget to, like the podcast, the Arts Bonita podcast. Like it, share it, scream it outside your window right now if you're at home listening or driving in a car. Just scream it out to people and say, go watch the Arts Bonita podcast. Second thing is, yes, this is a conversation, so you guys don't have to wait for me to guide it. If you have questions or follow-ups or when anybody's talking and you want to jump in on that conversation, I just want to invite you, please do that, okay?
What a wonderful story.
Thank you. I'm ready to hear your story.
I was born and raised in Southern Illinois to a family of 5 children. I'm the middle child. My father was a lineman, and he raised us 5 children on his lineman's income. My mother was stay-at-home, and I've always been creative. I think I was born creative. I was born a creative. I've been doing art. My father, when we were growing up, every Christmas, he would give all of our presents were things to do with our hands, whether it be rock art or paint by number or, making pot holders. We used to make pot holders and go around our neighborhood and sell them 4 for $1, making some summer money. And I just latched onto it. So I lived in Southern Illinois. I moved to California when I was 22. And I took formal classes out there, mixed media collage and watercolor, and fell in love with both mediums. I do all types of art. I'm like one artist I'm like one of 7 artists within me. I love working in paper. I love working in collage. I love trying, I taught a Calder Mobile class last year, which I absolutely loved, where we made mobiles out of wire and plastic. During COVID, when we first came down here, I've been full-time down here for 2 years now, but been in Florida for 5. And during COVID, my sister invited my husband and I down here, and my community's across the street from this particular, from Arts Bonita. And I saw this sign and I said, one of these days I'm going to teach there. I saw that sign and I said, I'm going to teach there. That was in January. That was in October of 2020. And in January of 2021, I had an opportunity to meet the Sandra Bridges, which was the director here at the time. And I said, do you ever hire teachers? And she said, well, here's the person's name. So I contacted that person. Go back. In January, I had an open air vision board class in my garage with 6 ladies. And on that vision board, because I do vision boards every year, I think it's important for your career or where you want to see your path go in art. So a vision board is done by me every year. And I think about the things that I want to accomplish. And on that vision board in January of 2021, I put, I'm going to be a teacher at the Center for the Arts. And I met with the particular person at the time, and I got hired on the spot in April. And that's how I found Arts Bonita. and I've been here ever since, and I love it. I love teaching art. I love my students. I have so much fun, and my students are like, "You're such a great teacher," and I said, "Thank you." It just makes me feel really good. And when I'm not teaching, I'm either playing golf or in my studio. I have a home studio, and my husband walks in there all the time and says, "I'm so happy you have this room," because I'm always in there. If I can't create with my hands during the day, or at least one time a day, I get crabby, and that's not good. So I'm a natural creative. I love it. I love art. So.
Well, I just remember meeting you for the first time, coming into my office, and you sat down in my office that had a bunch of stuff stacked up in there. My office has equipment and things in it. And I was just like, just your energy was so great. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And you seemed to really light up about the possibility. And of course, I came in August, and you had been here before, right. So I was new in the role. So to sit down and talk with you, and then not really know you from anybody else, but then to talk to other people who knew you, and everybody, it's like all the positive things that people were saying. I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
I love art, so I'm happy to be a part of Arts Bonita.
Yeah, well, we are super happy to have you here.
Thank you.
artsbonita.org. Go look at our classes, sign up. Yes, it is a podcast. Like it, thumbs up. I don't even know if that happens on Spotify, but whatever, just do it. All right, let's go to Shirley. Can you tell me about what was your, how did you get into art?
I really was a kid that just liked art. And so I did my own little method of working, I guess, with crayons and then eventually actual paints. But I had a lot of encouragement from my mom, who liked that kind of thing. And I was the last of 5 children. And I think that in 7th grade, I think I won a poster contest or something. And then in 9th grade, I won another little contest. And then they called and said, did I want a scholarship? And I said, I don't know where I want to go. So it just turned out that I got to the University of Iowa, which I thought was a really good choice, mainly because my cousin went there. And then when I actually got to school, she had dropped out. So long story short, I pledged a sorority and got into that kind of thing. I tried to major in art for 2 years, and I decided I'm not learning anything. And it wasn't the university's fault. It was my fault. I wasn't mature enough to understand that I had to memorize paintings and, get with it. And so I dropped out of art. I went into home ec, which I have never regretted. Never. I've always had a job if I needed it. But art jobs are a little more difficult to find, as you gals know. But anyway, my husband was drafted for Vietnam, and during that time, we were in Texas. He had 3 brothers already in combat zones, so he did not end up going. However, even then, I knew I really wanted to do something with art. So when we got out of that, we went back to Minnesota, where he was from, so he could use the GI Bill to finish college. And long story short, I started going to some of the art that I could find in the Twin City area, and there was a lot of it. I just had to find it. And one of my very first 5-day workshops, which were big at that time, there were a lot of 5-day workshops. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was so proud of himself because he was part of the Whiskey Painters Society of America. And when I heard him say that, and this was a man that spent part of the day trying to figure out what woman he wanted to ask out in the class. I mean, it was really an odd thing. But he didn't discourage me. I just started, at the time there were a lot of 5-day workshops, and I was able to go to some of them. And gradually so I traveled around and went to California. I went to New Mexico, on and on, to study with people. And I have found over the years that it always comes back to you anyway.
It does.
It doesn't matter who taught you. It matters what you do with what you've learned.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
I
And
agree with that.
I think that no matter what your way is, you'll be determined if you feel like this is right for you. And so I've just had a good time with it all. I told my husband that I would put the kids through college, which I did, and I'm proud of that. But I don't think my kids thought that was special, but I did.
Oh, yeah, that is very special.
So anyway, that's kind of the summary, and I just really feel that it's a wonderful opportunity to have Arts Bonita here and be able to participate, because lots of people love to do art and they don't have a way to do it or get any reward from it. Not that you need a reward, but just that you want some companionship.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people that are hearing this podcast or looking at our catalog saying, oh, I don't know if I should do this? Are these people all going to be really, really good? Am I going to be
Well, you know
too
that.
much of a beginner? What would you tell those folks, Shirley? All the classes you've taken in your long and successful career.
Well, I think any teacher knows that. The people that come really want to learn.
Yeah.
And they might not be very serious, but they're there. And that's a biggie right there. So I guess I just feel that if they have the desire and listen to you a little bit, they don't really have to follow anything. They can go their own way.
Right.
But I think they have to see good examples, and they have to see people that are committed to trying to, it's just like any sport, I would say, because if you're committed to the sport, pardon the word, anyway, if you're committed to it, you'll work at it. If they're committed to art, they will work at it.
I love to encourage my students when they sit down and like my one-night events, they're like, I've never done this before.
Right.
And I'm like, don't think too much about it. Just get into it. Gluing, there's something about gluing that's just relaxing. Try not to think too deep about it. Gather your materials and sit down and just go with the flow. Let the flow come into the art. And they have so much fun. And I see this like light that just lights them up. They're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. So I think it's important, for students that, want to learn art to just come in and experiment. There's something very, very moving when you have a blank piece of white paper and you put purple watercolor on it. It just moves. It just moves you. It moves me. So, I'm all about color, but yeah.
I love that. And in the one-night events, it's really created for folks that want to try something new. Right. Maybe they're accomplished in other art mediums. Maybe they've never done anything ever. And the one-night events have such a great, relaxed environment of exploration,
Right.
good instruction, and a lot of creative freedom.
Right.
And also a social network in terms of, I've seen some new folks who've moved to Florida come to one-night events, and then they'll start coming back, and then you'll sort of gradually see this small group of people that start keeping in touch with each other, and they follow, just the one-night events that are glass or just the one-night events that are painting or clay. But it's a great way to meet people, especially if you're new to the area. And if you're looking for people that are interested in learning other art forms, it's
Right.
fun. It's a fun, creative group.
And
Like, I'd love to take a class with the two of you. I think
Right.
we should just pick one out of out of the book and go do it together.
We should,
And,
because it would be
yeah,
fun.
that instructor, though, probably wouldn't want the three of us all at once. But
She'd probably be nervous.
maybe, yeah. But it would be fun.
Yeah,
it would be fun.
I think one-night events, too, what's nice about one-night events is that it's a great way to see if you like the medium as opposed to like a 5-week class, because I teach multiple 5-week classes also. One-night events are a great way to say, what medium do I really want to explore? And let's try this. And then they try maybe collage and they don't like it. And then they go, like your class, like paint pouring. Oh my gosh, I love this. It's a great way for people to come in and experience it in a short period of time.
Right.
And go, I love this. I'm going to take now a 5-week class or
Right. And
a full workshop.
They almost all sort of bridge off into a 5-week,
Yes.
more in-depth instruction or multiple workshops
I
over
agree.
the season. And I'm just thinking of, some of the one-night events that we have that are painting. The one that's coming up soon, it's botanicals. That's an acrylic painting class. And then Shirley's going to be doing Paint the Tropics this coming season, which is an acrylic 5-week class. And Maggie's going to be starting with, in July, the beginner watercolor class.
I can't wait.
So those are all really great places to start to see if you like those mediums. But to your point, do a one-night event.
See if you even like the medium.
See if you like the medium before you commit to the
Right.
5-week or a full-day workshop. And that's a great way that we've set that curriculum up to structure for the next step, if you want to take that next step, or if you just want to keep doing one-night events with your girlfriends or
Right.
date night and have a good time.
Exactly.
You have
And
those
the way to
options.
do that is to go to artsbonita.org and then to actually look at the one-night events and then sign up for one.
There's some wonderful events out there that Arts Bonita offers. I'm really proud and happy to be a part of Arts Bonita. And, got to go out and check it out.
I was going to say really quick, just back to Shirley Blake. I thought it was funny. She was talking about being in 7th grade and winning this award, and 9th grade winning an award. There's probably some other person out on another podcast somewhere who's like, I wanted to be an artist, but Shirley Blake kept winning all of the awards, and so then I became an accountant. Something like that. Probably. There's always the opposite story. There's somebody who's like, oh, that's Shirley Blake. She got me again. I love it. Let me ask you guys this question, because this is interesting if you can imagine this. We all grew up in a different time than right now, where kids have these little things. They're called cell phones, and they have iPads. What do you think you would be like if you were growing up with iPads and iPhones? What do you think that would mean to you? How would you interact with that technology, and how would that change things for you? I'm just curious, good or bad?
Well, one thing I would say, we only have one grandchild, boo-hoo, but he's 10, and when I have been able to be with them, they live in California, so we're not with them much, but when I've been able to be with him, I'll say, all right, now let's just try to figure out what we might want to paint. And I've got all the stuff ready for him. And we go from there, and he goes right along with it. I mean, it's just the attention, I think. But he likes art. In fact, he wrote me not too long ago, and his letter was really sad because a little girl in class had copied his work, and he got real upset about it. So his mom said, "Can you say anything to him that will make him feel better?" Well, all I said to him was, well, obviously she's jealous and she wants to have the same kind of talent you have. So, I think that helped him. But people have to get a few little rewards along the way. And I think that's what teaching is really all about. Right. It helps people.
Yeah, well, it's a big thing, like right now especially, and there's a lot of, there are still kids doing art, as you know, and there's a lot of stuff happening, but it is like a thing, like it's a constant thing, because if you don't pay attention to it, it will consume
Right.
them. And that's why I think it's always interesting to think about, I grew up, go outside, go play outside, go do
Us.
stuff outside, things like that.
My mother would lock us out. She'd come back at lunch, and I would probably say if I grew up with digital back in the day, I would probably say I'd be a digital artist. Figure out there's a program that's called Procreate. I started looking into it about a year ago, and I got real frustrated with it. You could layer it and stuff. So I would probably be a digital artist more so. I still would have found art.
Yeah, you feel like it's just
in my blood.
It's in your blood no matter
it
what.
Really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were a cave woman, you would be drawing on the walls.
I'd be hammering and
Chiseling.
making
Watch
out. Watch out.
Yeah.
We better
I would
check
be.
her house.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm going to have that image in my head now whenever I think of Maggie. In terms of what would things be, so for me, I think I probably would have still been just as artistic, but like Maggie, I would have probably gone, more down that digital pathway. So I think that for me, growing up in, I said Indianapolis, but it was really south of Indianapolis, kind of more rural. I would hope that if I had had access to that information then, I would have kept on the art path because I would have had access to a wider world of saying you can be an artist and this is how you do it versus, I remember when I first went to college, my first major actually was nursing. And the nursing instructor at Ball State basically said, you're going to be a nurse in a doctor's office, a nurse on a hospital, or a nurse in a school. And of course, I was like, I don't even really think I like it that much.
Right.
What about at that time, I had no idea nurse practitioners and chief nursing officer and things like that would come down the pike. My, big healthcare regret was not finishing that nursing degree because, of course, later that all happened, and that's where I would have gone had I had that opportunity. But I think if I'd grown up with the digital aspect of being able to research that, I would have stayed on the art path and not deviated.
I think really art should be affordable too.
Yes.
I was down in Naples this past weekend looking at some of the galleries down there, and I think art really should be affordable. I saw a painting for $64,000. I'm like,
wow.
Okay. I don't know. I think art should be affordable. I'll never forget the first time when I first sold my first piece, somebody wanted to buy it. And I'm like, wow, I just became an artist. I'm so excited. Anyway.
Well, we're getting to 36 minutes or so. We've been talking. So I just want to thank you all for taking the time to be here. I definitely want to do it again. I think we want to do these things pretty regularly because I think it's fun for the community to listen in, get to know all of you.
Absolutely.
There's, of course, so many more to get to know. I look forward to my goal is to somehow have everybody on who is associated with this organization in one way or another.
What a great idea.
Wow.
Even I want to do one with the front desk staff, get some of them on.
Yep.
I mean, anything to get people to know the people that work here and to get people just to know you all and the things that you specialize in and just hear interesting stories, you know, and your interesting perspectives. Like, you guys are all very lucky out there because they are very wise. Like, the things that they talk about, basically believe in you, leap, take the plunge, do the stuff you want to do. If you're interested in doing something, you're not doing it, then find a way to do it. Like, don't wait. I mean, that's what the Art Center exists for. You don't have to quit everything and dive into being an artist. You can be like, I'll just commit to Wednesday night for a one-night event
and
or
you don't
a
need a
multi-week
big
class.
space, really. Yeah. You don't need a big space either. If you like watercolor, all you need is a table and a block and, paint and water. It's you don't need a big space unless you're going to paint gigantic, but, try it.
Also, in terms of committing the time, I think that happens a lot that people think, oh, I'm just so busy, I can't do Wednesday nights or whatever. We have 6-day-a-week programming, and from one afternoon workshop, one evening, one night event to a couple of hours once a week for 5 weeks. So it fits into every schedule. And you have to stop thinking about it like, oh, you know, that's one more thing I have to put in my schedule. Think about it like your mental health break.
I agree.
We all deserve it.
I agree.
Every single person deserves that. And it's probably more important to your mental health than almost anything else you could do beyond, you know, exercise and spending quality time with your family. So, you know, I think if you look at it like this is something I can do for myself, then it becomes you crave it. You crave that creative time. I crave that creative time.
I do too. And you know what? Once that person sits down in that one night event and they start gluing, they're like, why did I wait so long to learn this medium?
Yes.
They go, wow, I love it.
And then you become like us and you're like, oh, well, I just saw this kind of class. I'm going to go try that medium. And now I'm going to go try acrylics with Shirley. And, oh, I saw the people across the courtyard doing glass. I wonder what that's all about. And it's just a great way to feed your soul and improve your mental health. And you know, this world is crazy enough as it is. We need the 2 to 3 hours a week you can take to go do that.
I hope I see you in one of my classes. I can't wait to see you in one of my classes. We have so much fun.
We do.
We do.
Yes. Well, Shirley, thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
This has been really interesting and fun.
Good. Maggie, thank you
Thanks,
so much.
John. I appreciate it.
And Tammy, thank you. So that's it for today's podcast. Please go to artsbonita.org and look at the wonderful things that we have going on. And yes, don't forget to like and subscribe and scream out the window and tell people to watch the podcast.
Peace out.
Peace and good night.